Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The resolution is there's a bad moon on the rise. A bad moon can mean a lot of things. To me, I see the bad moon as a night of unrest. There have been many nights that young people have not gotten an ample amount of sleep because of their schoolwork. High school students, especially because they have the highest workload and are challenged the most. My case topic is that high school students should have half the amount of school days. By this, I mean high school students, meaning those in the United States enrolled in grades 9 through 12, should have, meaning must have, and half the amount of school days, meaning that the total number of all days would be half of what it is today. My first contention is that students are constantly being deprived of sleep. Students today have more homework than ever before because of all the new information that is being discovered every day. Also, students today are being challenged more and more, which means more work, and this causes students to stay up late into the night. When students are up late in the night doing their homework for the next day, and this is a regular occurrence during the week, this lack of sleep every night is carried on through a long period of time, and this impacts the health of the student. My next contention is that students are being overworked. The brain works like most everything. It can't be worked every day for a long period of time. So when we're sitting in school for 6 hours, 7 hours a day, constantly working our minds with no rest, it's going to cause some problems. So for half the amount of school days, if we had half the amount of school days, we'd have more time to rest our brains. My third contention is that students are not getting enough exercise. Students are sitting for 7 hours of the day, and being stationary for an extended amount of time can cause serious health issues. And then after school, students that are not participating in sports may not have another way of exercising. Having half the amount of school days would create more time for students to be able to exercise, promoting a healthier way of life. High school students should have half the day of school because students are being deprived of sleep, they're overworking their minds, and they are not getting a healthy amount of exercise. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Speaker. My name is Zach Johnson. I'm going to be representing the government in this case today. Now, the resolution we have before us is there's a bad moon on the rise. Now, when I hear that resolution, I picture myself standing in a hallway, and a bad, in this case, smell lurking up from the end of the hallway, and it creeps up, and it's rising slowly towards me. And all of a sudden, it hits me, and I fall over. For that stench is the insurmountable shock of someone wearing too much cologne. It's that smell, not one lilac, but an army of lilacs attacking my senses. And ladies and gentlemen, we need to do something about that. So my case topic today is the government should regulate the amount of cologne an individual can wear. Cologne or perfume. Now, some definitions. The government as the combination of the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the United States of America. Regulate as the government should impose a fine to any individual whose perfume or cologne can be smelled from at least 6 feet away. And the amount as the amount of perfume or cologne applied, and perfume or cologne as a liquid, as typically a liquid in which someone applies to make them smell better. Now, my first contention is this plan would help the individual. Now, if you're walking into school or the workplace or really any public place and you're wearing too much cologne, you risk two things. The first thing you risk is overt social and verbal abuse. You risk someone coming up to you, running up to you and saying, "Hey you smell horrendous." And that consistent bullying is a definite risk when you're wearing that much cologne. And the government needs to do something about it in order to protect this individual from this type of social and emotional abuse. However, perhaps the more realistic of the social outcomes, perhaps the greater danger, is social isolation. Now, my sister is in middle school, and in her French class, she says that one of the boys in her class always wears too much cologne. And he sits 2 seats in front of her. And you see, he's normally a very nice kid, very nice boy, and normally she would try to talk to him. However, that insurmountable stench of that army of lilacs is too much to handle. So you know what my sister does, and probably the rest of the class, is she tries to avoid that boy. And that perpetuates a cycle of social isolation, which we want to stop and prevent. My second contention is that it would protect other people. For this, I'd like to hark back to my example about my sister's French class. My sister is sitting in the middle of French class with 2 seats in front of her sits someone who is wearing far too much cologne. And you know what that stench does? That stench eliminates her ability to focus. It distracts her from the educational opportunities being presented to her. And it impairs her ability to function. And that goes for any situation, whether it's in the classroom or the workplace or any public place. You should not, as an American citizen, be forced to undergo and bear the horrendous stench of someone wearing too much cologne or perfume. It's in my mind, inalienable right that the United States must protect. My third contention is that this plan would protect businesses. Now, for this contention, I'd like to tell a story about one time at Denny's. So I was about 9 years old, and I was walking to Denny's, really excited about having my Grand Slam, looking for some pancakes. But however, when I walked in there, it was like a wall of smell just hit me. For the customer 3 tables over was wearing what I thought at the time was an entire bottle of cologne. I'm pretty sure that man showered in it that morning. And frankly, I couldn't handle that. I had to give up my Grand Slam, give up my treasured pancakes, and I walked out of that establishment. And so Denny's lost a customer that day. Denny's lost profits that it could have had. The workers at Denny's lost tips that they could have gained. And overall, Denny's became a less successful establishment because of that one man wearing far too much cologne. That, ladies and gentlemen, is something we must prevent. We must protect the individual, we must protect other people, and we must protect businesses. Thank you, and I close, and I strongly urge you to side for the government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to debate my topic. The resolution that I will be basing my debate on is that there is a bad mood on the rise. If there is a bad mood on the rise, we should learn to accept it, not shun it as a society. My case topic being mooning, a personal expression of the human body, should be allowed. Mooning is the art of providing a clear sightline to one's gluteus maximus. It is an expression of the human body. The buttocks is beautiful, an amazing creation from God himself. You can't say you want to hide his work. Mooning can be used in art. Think of ancient civilizations, great artists, beautiful sculptors. Staying far away from the glutes in their art. Art would not be the same today. We as a whole world seem to shame anyone who exposes any skin more than our arms and legs. We need to show the development of the human race, and we need to progress through the centuries. Look overseas at the beaches in France. Men along with women strut the shores topless. We are open about our bodies, and we are progressing as a human population culturally, and we should learn not only to accept, but love the behind. To progress further in our culture, we need to applaud such behavior. It can be used in education, to explore the muscles and provide a real-world example. The butt includes 3 big muscle groups: the gluteus maximus, the gluteus medius, and the gluteus minimus. To allow mooning is to explore these muscle groups that we work so hard to exercise and improve. It informs the populace of what muscles to work on. And honestly, if I did lunges and squats 5 days a week for 3 years, I would want to show off my hard work. To close, the government really believes that mooning is an important part of human expression and should be allowed. Thank you for listening.